By 2050, a city will be developed on Mars. It will be the second home of humanity located far away from the shelter of Earth. It's amazing, isn't it? In space, music has come down to make us multiplanetary or multiplanetary species. But listen, going to Mars isn't the real challenge. The real challenge is to survive there. Because this city of Mars will not be an ordinary abode like the Moon. Its goal is to be 100% self-sufficient without relying on a single Earth. Think about the Moon first. The Moon is so close to us that we want it. It is possible to get there in just one day. That is, if you need something on the Moon, it is not too difficult to bring it from the Earth. But the story of Mars is completely different. With current technology, it takes about 8 months to get to Mars. Yes, in the future, it may be possible to reduce this time to 45 days using nuclear rockets. But that's not a short time either. This simply means that you can't count the days sitting on Mars, hoping for the help of the Earth. You have to live with what is on the red soil on Mars. And frankly, there's nothing special there but dust and stones. And that's where the biggest challenge is. It is this lack that will compel us to set up huge industries or factories there, whose job will be to get the supplies to survive from that stone. The goal is very clear. Even if for some reason the ship from Earth stops coming forever, the people of Mars can stand on their own feet and sustain human civilization. We need a backup plan before a catastrophe strikes the world. And that plan is to build a permanent music civilization of at least 1 million people on Mars. We literally have to dig deep there. But people will not be the first to step into this huge task. Robots will occupy the soil of Mars before us. Dozens and maybe hundreds of robots will go there and make their way for us. And this is where the connection between space and Tesla becomes clear. It's no coincidence that Elon Musk's company Tesla is developing the technology that will be used to build the foundation of Martian cities. His name is Optimus. These humanoid robots can work just like humans. If humans were to land on Mars first, what would they be? Optimus would have done it before we left. Because when the Europeans discovered America, the environment didn't kill them. But Mars doesn't know how to forgive the environment of Mars, so if you drop a group of people there without preparation, you can't say that you make your arrangements. This is going to be the most dangerous speech in human history. Surviving on Mars is not the same thing as surviving in Antarctica or the Sahara Desert. Mars is colder than Antarctica and 100 times drier than the Sahara. But the music is a different problem. In place, the biggest killer of Mars is its atmosphere. The air is so thin that no liquid can survive there. And the law of physics is that water cannot be liquid without pressure. It evaporates and flies away. About 70% of the human body is water, so if you stand for a moment on Mars without a protective suit or special suit, 3 things will happen to you at once. On the one hand, you will freeze in the cold. On the other hand, the blood inside the body will start to boil, and at the same time, you will die of suffocation due to lack of oxygen. That's not all. Even if you've read the tune, there's no escape. Mars does not have an ozone layer of atmospheric armor like Earth's atmosphere. So the toxic radiation from the huge nuclear reactor called the Sun will hit you directly. This hell of Mars is not taking the risk of sending humans to the same environment in space right now. Their plan is very clear. The Optimus robot will go to Mars before humans. If all goes well, we'll see that historic scene in 2026. According to SpaceX's roadmap, 5 Starships are in the first phase. Depart for Mars. Each will carry 10 tons of cargo or payload. Why 5 ships at once? There's only one reason: safe landing. Space knows well that landing on Mars is not easy. Their goal is to make sure that at least one of the 5 ships can be landed safely without crashing. We know the nature of SpaceX's work. They believe in trial and error. In the beginning, many rockets may explode. It will be destroyed. But once they catch the technique, they can't be stopped. If a ship can safely land the robots, the wait will begin. The real game will start 2 years later. Then a huge fleet of 20 Starships will be sent. These ships will carry 75 tons of cargo, all of which will be spent on creating safe shelters and infrastructure for people. That is, the robots will go first and build the road so that people do not get in danger. Now the question is, where exactly will we make our first stop on Mars? Put your finger on the map in space in a region called Arcadia. It is the highest volcano in the solar system, just northeast of Olympus Manos. But why this place? Because it is close to the equator. There is a lot of sunshine here, and the place is pretty flat, but the real treasure is hidden beneath the ground. There is a lot of ice under this area. Optimus robots will land on Mars and undertake 2 huge missions. The first is to extract the ice from under the ground and convert it into food and water, because it is almost impossible to carry water from the Earth for 8 months. Interestingly, this water will not only quench thirst, it will also keep us alive. By breaking down the water, we get oxygen, which can be used to breathe, and get hydrogen, which is the main ingredient in the production of rocket fuel. And this is where the second task of robots comes in to produce fuel. It's hard to go to Mars, but it's harder to get back from there. It is impossible to take the fuel back from Mars from Earth. So SpaceX has chosen methane gas for their Starship. It takes hydrogen to make methane, which we get from water. And there is no shortage of carbon dioxide in the air of carbon Mars. Carbon capture technology will be used to capture carbon from the air. Simply put, the air and ice of Mars will be the fuel and oxygen to breathe our home. But if we want to build an entire city on Mars, we have to go deep into the ground. And this is where the magic of the ecosystem of Elon Musk's companies can be seen. SpaceX will take people to Mars, but there is no technology in space to take out the snow by going around the ground. Musk's other company, the Boring Company, is building tunnels underground on Earth and making roads to reduce jams. But their missions on Mars will work. As miners, these robotic drill machines will work from deep in the ground. Thousands of tons of snow will be lifted, and the huge amount of rocks and soil that will come up during the excavation is not garbage. These rocks will be melted at high temperatures to create the first solid road to Mars and the landing pad of rockets. Because if a huge rocket like a Starship lands on the dusty soil of Mars, a dust storm will be created, which is very dangerous. So the landing pad first, then the landing of the man. By approximately 2030, exactly 2 years after the hard work of the robots, we will see that historic fleet of 100 Starships in the Martian skies. People will go down to Mars. But with people coming down, robots will face a huge challenge. A little solar panel was enough for the robots. They can stop working and go into sleep mode if necessary, but people don't have that luxury. A man-made life support system, which produces oxygen, filters the air, and regulates the temperature, cannot be turned off for a second. Mars also has day and night, just like Earth. That is, there are 12 hours of darkness every 24 hours. Then the solar panels are non-functional. At this time, Tesla's Megapack battery will be needed to keep the whole city alive. These are huge reservoirs of lithium-ion batteries. Each Megapack is so powerful that it is possible to power the primary colony of Mars overnight with a single unit. These batteries will be easily transported to Mars through the cargo bay of the Starship. That is, the sun during the day, and Tesla's batteries at night will run like this is the life of Mars. Now let's talk about housing. In the beginning, people may be inside the Starship because it protects against radiation and has air inside. But think about it. Can you spend the rest of your life in an airplane or in a ship's cabin? The Starship may be 165 feet long. A narrow tower. Life in it means going up and down the elevator or ladder all day. Space or horizontal space is needed for people's mental health. So we have to get out of the Starship and build a house on the soil. In our imagination or in science fiction movies, we see a huge glass dome or glass dome on Mars, but in reality, it is the worst idea for the first colony of Mars. The pressure of the second is almost zero at the pressure outside Mars, and inside the dome there will be an Earth-like air pressure. As a result, the dome will always want to explode from the inside out. It is an engineering nightmare to keep such a large glass structure from exploding. So what's the solution? NASA's Langley Research Center has given an excellent solution. Martian ice dome. We will use Martian ice instead of glass. The design is very smart. First, an inflatable rubber tube or inflexible module will be sent to Mars. It will swell like a balloon and take the shape of a house. The robots will then fill the top shell with water. In the extreme cold of Mars, the water will freeze and create a full ice roof. Now the question may be in your mind, why is ice the best? There are two main reasons for this. The first is the radiation shield. Water or ice, which has a lot of hydrogen to prevent harmful cosmic rays or radiation in space, works better than lead or lead. Ice houses are great to live in, but for laboratory garages or heavy factories, we need concrete walls. In the world, we make concrete with cement or sand. There is a lot of sand on Mars, but there is no cement or glue. It is also not possible to carry thousands of tons of cement from the Earth. So where can I find the glue for joining the stones? The answer is inside your body. Scientists call it astrocrit, music, or biocrete. It sounds confusing, but this is the reality in extreme situations. Proteins and sweat in human blood and urea obtained from urine. The mixture of the two is mixed with the dust of Mars to create a substance that is harder than ordinary concrete. This has been proven in research by the University of Manchester. That is, the future cities of Mars will literally be built with our blood and sweat. This technology is perhaps the greatest proof of how desperate people can be to survive. Maybe we want to avoid building houses with blood, because it is dangerous for health. But on Mars, we have another endless one in our hands. There are resources, human vomiting or urine. Every drop of water on Mars will be filtered and re-drunk. The residual substance that remains after this filtering process is urea. Scientists have found that it is possible to mix this common urea with Martian soil to create a special type of biopolymer. Simply put, it produces a type of cement that can bear much more weight than ordinary concrete in the world. It is ideal for building houses or landing pads. It may sound crazy or a little dirty, but if you look at history, it's nothing new. In the Middle Ages, when large castles were built, masons used to mix animal blood to tighten their spice or cement binding. That is, this technique of building structures with the liquid of living organisms is thousands of years old and tested water, oxygen, and houses. So we have to grow crops on Mars. And believe me, this is going to happen. The most complicated, it is difficult to cultivate in the world. And on Mars, the land is your enemy. On the red Mars, there is a type of toxic salt called perchloride. It's a lot like the chlorine we use to kill bacteria in the swimming pool. That is, whatever you sow in this soil, the soil will kill it. So the way is still mathematically impossible to carry the soil from the Earth. The amount of soil needed to feed 1 million people can't be taken with 1,000 starships, music. So we have to choose the hard way, refining the soil of Mars. Perchloride should be washed out and brought back to life in the dead soil. We need to build an industry that is soiled. It will separate the toxic perchlorate from it. But the poison will not be removed. Plants need nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus to grow. Fortunately, we have an endless source of it. Just as we are making concrete with urine, human feces will be used as the best fertilizer. And using this fertilizer, the rough soil of Mars has to be nourished. Kajla will not be beautiful at all to hear or look at, but there is no alternative to survival. And in the same way, when we can meet the 5 basic needs of Mars, electricity, water, oxygen, shelter, and food, from Earth, even if help stops, we will survive. Only then will we be able to say that humans are now truly a multiplanetary species. But what after Mars? Does our journey end here?